Yeah.
He does not have to go off.
But he is the kind of guy that
likes.
could go random because he's just...
Because he's a little quirky guy,
Yeah,
right? Trey 5's so
exactly.
quirky.
Yeah. Shout out to Trey 5 doing the write-ups for the PR this season.
Good kid.
It's so hard. You have to formulate the sentences. It's pretty tough.
So Trey 5 and Tispai. Obviously, we have seen quite a bit of Tispai lately. You know, during the bans, did not have to switch off of his character at all. But man, I feel like we've talked about Ike in this matchup before as being like low-key not that bad as long as your spacing is good.
Yeah. And I felt like that was at the beginning of it, but as it progresses, it's just like, oh yeah, I forgot Ike is bad.
Yeah, he's not the, you know, there are stronger options in this game. Like, Ultimate's one of those games where you can do something with almost every character.
Oh, for sure.
Great high recovery, even better by Trey 5 to cover that, but Tispai hanging tough right there. We're getting close to some confirmed kill percents. I'm talking about that landing there.
Yeah.
It's not quite enough to get him off the top of that low percent, though.
Yeah, Trey 5 definitely wants to get out of center stage, and he's going to get his ticket out to the blast zone.
And this is one of the things I really like about Ike in this matchup in particular, is that he can just hover in ranges where Steve is going to be very uncomfortable, and you can threaten something that he has to do something about, and that has been a big part of Tispai's success so far, and I love that escape.
That was so funny.
Goodbye.
Yeah, it's like he's hovering there, and his up smash is hovering.
You are trying with that forward smash.
Stock
it's a
up,
hefty move.
Stock up, you kind of have to pull out all those tricks to beat characters like Steve.
And so far, Tispai hasn't really needed them. He's just been playing pretty simple, clean, and straightforward. And I mean, 78%, lots of rage on Ike. Without that block there, that Steve was indeed probably dead.
Like you're saying, he's just kind of building this wall of like hitboxes around Steve. It's just like, how are you going to get out of this? You know?
Yeah. Well, and speaking of the walls, too, right? That has been a non-issue for Tispai as he demolishes that second stock as well. You're gone now. But that's so goofy. I expected him to at least mash out.
Sometimes it's just over, you know?
Nonetheless, you know, Trey 5 normally is at least somewhat pretty centric around building those blocks and, you know, shaping the pace of the game around that, but you know, you don't get to really do that as much around Ike because he just takes care of those blocks so easily.
And we're seeing a little bit of sense of frustration coming out from Trey 5. Usually he's kind of a guy who will just sit back and just joke around, but you know, we actually
he's
see
an
him
unbothered king.
Exactly, but we're seeing him actually shake his head and kind of be like, you know, unhappy with the way the game is going.
And that can happen against Ike. And man, what a read from Tispai right there, knowing that Trey 5 has been wary of that jump-up juggle the entire game. That's the kind of conditioning that Tispai is just such an intelligent player that when you give him time to be in control of the game and, you know, set up conditioning and traps, he's going to do that.
Yeah.
And we saw that game one was a masterpiece.
And it helps out that Ike's smash attacks are so slow that it catches that falling nair dodge because it's just like, oh, it's going to come out. It's going to come out eventually.
Covers so much space too.
Yeah.
I mean, the space was also really key for Tispai as well, right? He was able to really make sure that he wasn't getting inside that Steve threat zone and, you know, like I was talking about, hovering where Ike is effective, but Steve not so much. Small battlefield, it's going to be a little bit harder to do that, but this is a double-edged sword for Trey 5 as well because when Tispai gets things started on this stage, he's also going to suffer.
Yeah, and it's just very chess-like play coming from Tispai, just very meticulously choosing the places he interacts and kind of like playing Ike slower than you'd think, you know?
Yeah. Again, he's a very meticulous player. Like, he's not going to beat you down by throwing tech skill and the craziest amount of optimal hitboxes at you. It's about breaking down your game plan and doing something about it. Love that recovery into the blocks, by the way. And
so close.
I honestly thought on small battlefield, which is criminal.
Yeah, even with that rage, too, so close.
Ooh. Man, Tispai, great reaction right there. Ready for Trey 5 to come back to the ledge. He's looking so nice right now.
Yeah, what a feint. Like, oh, I'm getting on stage. No, I'm actually just going back off and hitting you.
Double dipping.
Yeah.
This will be a back row for sure. Trey 5 getting some time to mine and just tossing up the
Oh, that is the worst feeling ever. There goes Trey 5 laughing, finally.
Yeah. That's it. This is what Trey 5 does his best, is when silly things are happening. You get thrown off, but this is his comfort zone.
That's straight facts.
That's why he was able to win so many sets playing random.
Yeah, right? Like,
Rising there on the platform actually opens up so much, and I've never noticed that.
yeah, it's doing really great in this set.
I like that. Tispai just disengaging a little bit, creating some more space. Trey 5, though, like you mentioned, brought this game back to even. Things are looking a lot more comfortable for him. But again, on small battlefield, when you're not the one totally in control against Ike, things can just crumble very, very quickly. Key air dodge, but again, we saw that ended up being key for Tispai to take advantage of late in the game, last time in the game one, and get careful as Trey 5's onto his last stock.
And he's using every single move that Ike has in his arsenal. We're seeing him do dash back forward tilts, that back air. Like, I'm impressed by Tispai right now.
Just gets better every single week I see him. But Trey 5, like we mentioned, powerful, powerful player trying to keep himself in this game, but that roll-in is a big punish.
He's in his head. That is such good play right there.
Man, Tispai just feasting right now. A dash attack to anti-air. 2 stock in that game 2. And again, he's just one of those players that when he gets control of a game and when you're playing on his chessboard, it's impossible to win.
Yeah, it just feels like right out of your hands. And it's been a minute since I've seen Trey 5 picked apart like that in that matchup, you know. But
I'm saying, I think that matchup's not that bad for Ike.
yeah, and I mean, Tispai played it really, really well. Like, there's a lot to be said for someone who just keeps rushing in there because you have those disjoints. But right there, Tispai chose his spots and chose them really, really well.
You have to be a bit meticulous playing in that matchup for sure. And Tispai is nothing if not meticulous.
Yeah, just really great options recovering, knowing when to do it high, when to go for ledge, and when to put pressure on Trey 5 when he thought he was okay to recover. But really smart play.